And just like that, we are live broadcasting around the world. Thanks for joining us, my friends. I hope you're having a great Friday morning. And got a little change of plans for today's show. We are going to do a solo show because you know what? We haven't done a solo show in months. And I typically used to do them every Friday with my wife, Kate. But we've been focusing just on doing our own shows on Friday, interviewing guests. And I haven't done a solo show in a long time. And there's a lot to get to. I have so much information to share. I hope I can get to it in some decent amount of time. So I hope you guys are doing great. We were going to have George Wiseman back on the show today to talk about the benefits of hydrogen and Brown's gas. And I don't know if you guys have watched that show or listened to it in our archives with George Wiseman, but I would highly recommend listening to that show. That was episode 662. So you can go to extremehealthradio.com/662 and check out that show with Mr. George Wiseman, all about hydrogen and what hydrogen can do inside the human body. It's incredible. Gosh, what an amazing show that was with Mr. George Wiseman. So I'd highly recommend going to do that. But what happened was we we're going to have him on today, and unfortunately, we were trying to work in Skype into our vMix production here, and everything just broke. So it's like, I don't know, as the gods would have it, we just weren't able to reconnect our audio using other inputs. So I'm doing a solo show, which actually works out to be really great because I have a lot of stuff I want to get to. I don't know, do you guys feel like you are sort of standing alone amongst your friends and family with this whole, I don't even know what trigger word to use here, but with everything that's going on with this virus, we'll call it big C, little v for lack of a better term. We need to come up with some better terms. I was calling it the cupcake virus for a while, but I think big C, little v might work, get past the YouTube filters. There's a possible chance that I may get taken down from YouTube after this show because I'm going to share some videos via Instagram that I don't know if they're going to ban or what. But so anyway, we were going to have George Wiseman on, but we're going to do this solo show because I've got so much stuff to get to. So I've got some past show breakdowns I want to share with you, some interesting insights from some of our previous shows. I have let's see, what else? I want you guys to share an unpopular opinion. Possibly maybe in the chat room, because I've seen these posts on Facebook, and it's really interesting. It'll say, like, do you have, share an unpopular opinion you have, and there's going to be no fighting, no bickering, no back and forth, no fighting in the comments, but just share an unpopular opinion. And it's really interesting to see people respond to that. So if you have an unpopular opinion, I'm not going to debate you. If you want to call up on Skype, that would be cool too. Our Skype handle is Extreme Health Radio. And I'd love to, just if you want to share your unpopular opinion, that would be really, really cool. What else? I want to talk about the benefits of selenium and some of the stuff that's going on with this big C, little v madness that's going on. And plus, I got a lot of listener questions about light therapy, censorship, colostrum. I got bashed by a listener for promoting colostrum, so I'll read that email. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. But a lot to get to today. But before we get started, do you realize that today is the 19th anniversary from 9/11? 19 years ago, that happened. Can you believe that? Where has 19 years gone? Is that just, it's amazing, right? How time goes by so fast and life really is so short. 19 years ago. What were you doing? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can call up and tell me on Skype, Extreme Health Radio. That's our Skype handle. Let me know what you were doing on that morning of 9/11. Were you working near the area? Were you watching it on TV? What were you up to? Did you believe it? Who told you the news? It's funny because with these things, you always have like, you remember that so distinctly, right? Where you were, what you were doing. I was living at home at the time and preparing for my world trip around the world. So I was working for a company and I'd been saving my money for a long time, and I was either going to buy a house or I was going to take a trip around the world, which is something I wanted to do for a long time. And so that was September. And so what happened was I had gotten laid off from my job a little bit before, I think somewhere in July. And so I was planning on leaving anyway a couple months later. So I was basically not working, and I had all this money saved up, living at home, and I was going to go travel around the world. So in the month of August, I took a train from Southern California all the way around the world, around America. And that was really fun. So I went to Texas, I went to all the southern states, down to Florida, then up to New York, and then across the country to different places, and had a really, really great time. And that was in August of 2001. And I remember my brother's wife's father at the time, I was staying with him in New York, and he took me, or I was staying with him in New Jersey, and he took me to New York. This was a month before 9/11, and he asked me if I wanted to go to see the Twin Towers. And I was like, no way, they blow those buildings up, dude. No way, I'm not going on there. I'm not going over there, no way. And I was just kind of joking, but it was so eerie. I remember that so distinctly, because of the, 1993 bombings there. And I don't know, maybe it was prophetic. I don't know what it was, but it was just such a bizarre time. And so now I joke that he tried to take me up into a building that was eventually going to be taken down. So he wanted to kill me, but it was just so wild. And then I come back, and then I had this trip planned around the world, right? I was going to go to all these countries, and then all of a sudden, am I going to go? Am I going to travel? Are they going to allow flights to happen? Is everything going to be locked down? If I get on a plane, are they going to bomb it? What's going on? Shoot, I think somebody's calling on Skype. Let's see if I can hear. I see Skype here. Calls always come first. Oh, way above. Okay, so he was, sorry. Anyway, yeah, so sorry, I can't see the Skype connection here too much. I can't hear it, at least. So what was I going to do? Was I going to travel around the world? Was I going to be banned from flying? What exactly was going to go down? None of us knew what was happening at the time. We're all in the dark. So I remember thinking, oh gosh, maybe I should just cancel my trip, right? Because here's where I was planning on going. And I had been saving for years to do this. So I live in Southern California. I was going to go to Fiji and then Tonga for a month. And then I had family in New Zealand. So I was going to stay there for a month. Then I was going to go to Australia because I have more family there down in Australia. And I was going to stay there for a month. And then I was going to meet some friends in South Africa, which I still have today, some great people in Durban and then in Cape Town, and go surfing. And then I was going to fly over the continent of Africa and go to Greece and try to hit Greece in the springtime and go to the Greek islands and then travel by train through Greece, Italy, France, and Spain. And then from Spain, I was going to fly from Madrid to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and go there for a month or so. And then from there, I was going to go to Jamaica. But in order to do that, I had to fly to Florida first, go to Florida, then go to Jamaica. And I met a friend in Jamaica. We stayed there for about a month. And then I was going to go to Costa Rica and then back home. So now the whole trip was up in limbo, right? Because was the plane I was going to get on, was that going to be bombed? What was going to happen? I think all of us collectively didn't know what was going to happen. So I was kind of up in the air for a few days, deciding whether or not to do this trip. And then I finally decided, you know what? I'm not putting my dreams and my plans on hold. If I die on this trip, if the airplane I go up in goes up in smoke, then I will, I felt like I had to do this journey, this trip. And it was a solo trip around the world. And it was one of the best things I've ever done in my whole life. So that's what I did, and I'm so glad I did. I met some amazing people. I learned from cultures and how they look at the world. I went to different churches to get an idea of how other cultures worship and who they worship and how they worship. And I surfed all around the world, met some amazing people, ate some amazing food. It was one of the best things I've ever done in my life, and I could have not done it based on fear. And I see that happening a lot today. So I'm curious what you guys were doing 9/11 on that fateful day, 19 years ago. I was a fast, 25? And it was just amazing, crazy time. So what a crazy thing. I've been hearing some things that might go down on 9/11 and, today, some false flag events. We don't know. So anyway, if you have any ideas about what you were doing on 9/11, I'd love to hear. Call me up at Extreme Health Radio on Skype. But I feel like this is a really cool time for me to be able to share with you some of the behind the scenes, some of the things that are happening with the show, and some other points, because I've been purposefully silent on this whole big C little V thing going on right now, and I have some definite opinions about it, but I've been sort of purposefully silent, gathering information, trying to look at all different sides of what's happening. And I've got a lot to share about it too. So plus lots of listener questions, and I want to talk to you about selenium as well as some other minerals going into this whole thing. So I think it's really important for us to share ideas and to have friends in our area where we can talk to and be, connect to. And so got a lot to get to here today. So what should I start with? Should I start with some audio questions? I'll start with a listener question from Amy, and she really rips me a new one. Amy does. She's mad that I promote colostrum. Very angry about it, and she says, "Do you even?" So it's funny because we get so many emails, as you can imagine, right? With a show like this being around for so long, and and you just kind of have to take these things with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of upset people out there, and there's a lot of people that are not happy with their lives. And she says here, she doesn't even say, "Hi, Justin," or anything like that. She just starts right in with, "Do you even realize that when you promote your colostrum product that it contains bovine DNA, so you are consuming that not to even mention that the animal rights issues that would be connected to this practice. I understand that you need sponsors, however, considering your content, which I enjoy. I'm really surprised to see you promoting this, not to mention it also makes me feel physically sick, so I do need to forward the ads. Please take a better look at what you are consuming, especially promoting." So it's funny because when we get emails like this, my first thought is like, okay, let's be polite and say, "Hi, Justin, I hope you're doing well." But instead of, like, you wouldn't talk to someone like this, right? You wouldn't just start right in without even introducing yourself or saying hello with, "Do you even realize that you promote colostrum?" So one of the things with colostrum is that we've been promoting since the beginning. I take it. I'm unabashful about taking it. I promote it. I love it. Yes, it contains bovine DNA, but so does all animal food. Animal food contains the DNA of the animals that we're consuming, and I do not think it's possible to be healthy without consuming animal foods. I used to be 100% raw food vegan for 7 years, from 2003 to 2010, and it wrecked my health. It didn't do me any good. So I'm very happy and thankful that I now consume animal foods. And so, I just think that, if you want to, promote your lifestyle, that's fine. I have no problem with that, even though I don't think it's healthy for you or other people to be 100% raw food vegan. But we all get to make our own decisions, and we all get to make our own choices. So, it's not like Amy, it's not like you're going to email me and then I'm going to say, "Oh yeah, I was doing the wrong thing. Sorry. I didn't look into what we promote or consume. I was wrong about that." No, I look into everything that I consume and promote. So it's not as if I don't know and I haven't looked I need to take a better look. I've already done that. And so you're not going to convince me that this is a food that's detrimental to our health. In fact, I think it's one of the most health-giving and life-giving foods there is, colostrum, that we have, so that we promote. So, and so here's another email that, it's kind of cool because you get these emails and you get one person bashing you for something, and then you get someone that's really, really cool. And she says here, "Hey, Justin, what a treat to receive a personal email from you. Thank you for taking the time to write back. Since I've been following you, I've learned about the purpose of birth certificates, the monetary role of plaintiffs and defendants in courts cases. I've cleaned out parasites from my body, from my mattresses and my home. I nipped EMF and dirty electricity in the bud. I blocked blue light. I rebound on a trampoline. I found pristine water. I stopped taking ascorbic acid. I got off iron-filled calcifying supplements. Currently filling up a petition full of signatures to partner with our local sheriff, and looking forward to soon inhaling some Brown's gas. And this is by no means an exhaustive list, all because of your show. As you can see, you have clearly changed my life, and I bet you didn't even know it. Don't underestimate the impact you're making in the world by educating and transforming lives. And whatever you do, pay no mind to the naysayers. Thank you, Angie. I will pay no mind to the naysayers. Amy, who wrote me above, she says here, they're just being true to their naysayer selves. I applaud and support you in your efforts, and I'm glad to partner with you in the Academy and be part of a like-minded community. Thank you for offering me the generous lifetime discount. Yes, please sign me up. I would love to participate in this promotion. Please send me the link and instructions on how to sign up for this. I greatly appreciate you, and thank you again for this opportunity. I look forward to getting to know you in the Academy community better and exchanging mutual value in health and well-being, Angie. And so these are the emails that I enjoy getting, and they kind of counteract the emails like the one from Amy above. And, you know, look at all these things. She learned about the role of birth certificates, the monetary role of plaintiffs and defendants in court cases, getting on the Brown's gas, jump on trampoline, found pristine water, stopped taking ascorbic acid, got off iron-filled, calcium-filling supplements. What an awesome thing. And so, you know, I feel honored to be able to do a show like this and to be able to help as many people as I possibly can, because for me, what I do is hopefully going to help share a couple ideas that will wake people up. You know what I mean? I mean, that's really what it's all about. So let's see here. We got a Skype call here. Okay, so this is from, sorry, I can't get on Skype. It's weird. Yeah, so that's the idea, is to help wake people up and do sort of my part in helping people understand that there are other options, not just for healing, but ways of seeing the world too, you know? And then, you know, what we're taught and what we're given as information in the mainstream, you know, news media is not only not true, but they're lying to you. It's just a pure lie. And it's sad to see people, you know, take that and listen to it and believe it. And then not only that, but just absorb it and start living it. And you see that, you know, happening in our society today. So, okay. So do I dare talk about what's going on with this big C, little v thing? I think I should. I've got a lot to share with you about this. I'll do some audio listener questions in a minute, but I think what I should do is talk a little bit about what's going on with this big C, little v. And to be honest, I think that it really scares me. It really scares me what's going on with this big C, little v, and how people are interpreting the data and how people are simply believing what's going on in the mainstream media. It really scares me, guys. And I think that we are in probably one of the most important times in human history right now, because if we don't fight for what we have, we're going to be crying about what's been taken away from us. And I think that Beck was sharing this in our Academy call this morning. And we're in such a critical time because they're tightening the grips on every level. And the thing is on the other side of the equation, I understand what people are thinking. If you think that this virus is going to kill you and going to kill other people, and if you think this virus is going to wipe out what they said at the beginning was 500,000 deaths as a result of this, if you think all that, then I completely understand that you need to take precautions and you need to listen. But if this were a real thing, if the numbers were not inflated like they are, there should be no question. There should be no one questioning. But there are so many holes in what they're promoting. And I've got a bunch of articles I want to share with you. And maybe some of you have seen these articles before. But it's, you know, my job is to bring up some things that maybe you haven't seen before and share some ideas that maybe you're not getting from the mainstream media. And it's really important to do that, because the mainstream is slowly going away, and like it or not, if they don't like it or not, we are the news now. You and I, with our cell phones and Instagram accounts, we are the new news. So no longer can they propagate lies by sharing something about, one angle of what's happening in some event in some city somewhere. We have people on the ground that are sharing what's actually going on from their own cell phones. So we are the new news. So news media companies just know that. And so where do I even begin? I mean, one of the things recently that I don't know if you guys saw this, but the CDC just came out and said that, only 6% of the actual cases of people dying from big C, little v are attributable to only big C, little v. So what does that mean? So that means the CDC was claiming, everything is a claim, guys. Just so you know that. Everything is a claim. Think of it in terms of a courtroom. This stuff has to be proven. Everything has to be proven. If they are going to state a case in the mainstream news media, or if anyone is going to make a claim or state a case, state an opinion, everything has to be backed up, not just by science, but by fact. So they're making claims about everything. So these claims simply have to be proven true. And if you can't prove these claims beyond a shadow of a doubt, inconclusively, then we just can't believe them. So, they could say 1 million people died, this, that, and the other thing happened. But if you can't prove it, it's just a claim. It's just words spoken into the wind. Everything must be proven. And so the CDC is claiming 161,000. Now they're saying it's 175,000. Sometimes I see now 181,000. But regardless, at the time that they wrote this on September 9th, I think a couple days ago when they updated their website, it was 161,000 people have died from big C, little v. In a country of 327, some say 331 million people. And there you go, right? So, but what they admitted, now I don't know why they admitted this. This is the really strange thing. But they admitted on their website that of those 161,000 people, only 6% can be contributed only or have died only from big C, little v. So an average of, 94% of those 161,000 people, 94% of them, 94% had comorbidities. So that means, and an average of 2.6 comorbidities. So almost 3 other underlying health conditions going on at the same time. That means diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, all these other sort of comorbidities people are dealing with, high blood pressure, heart attacks, cardiovascular diseases. So 94% of the 161,000 people, 94% of them had an average of 2.6 comorbidities going on at the same time. Okay, so that leaves only 6% of the 161,000 people that only had one comorbidity going on. That is big C, little v. Okay, so that now brings that 161,000 number all the way down to, I think, 9,000 people, less than 10,000 people in a country of 331 million people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share our Instagram account because I shared this on Instagram here. Let me bring this up so you guys can take a look at it. And it's one of the first things that, there we go. Yeah, for those of you who are watching on video, you can see this. In a population of 331 million people, 329,193, the CDC reported on August 22nd, 2020, 6% of the 161,392 deaths were COVID deaths. So that's saying it's only attributed to COVID. So that is 9,683. So that is a 0.0029% death rate. So we had someone offer some pushback, basically responding to me with a video saying, you can't say that these people that died, that were part of that 94% didn't also die from COVID. So now you're saying what? That those 94% of other people, so that would make up the totality of the 161,000 people. So what he was saying is basically an argument from silence. So he was saying you can't say that they didn't die also of COVID, even though they had heart disease, they had high blood pressure, they had dementia, they had Alzheimer's, they had stage 4 cancer. What he was saying was you can't say that they didn't also die of COVID. So now we're talking about fudging the numbers here, right? Because if they have those underlying conditions, and by the way, the average age of these people was 80 years old with an average of 2.6 comorbidities going on. So I mean, it's like it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. So what this guy was saying was basically just because they had 2.6 other comorbidities doesn't mean that COVID wasn't the cause of their death. And so now you get into getting into what's actually causing disease and the science of what's going on. If someone's has stage 4 cancer, but they also have COVID, and they die probably from the chemotherapy and radiation, are you going to say that they died from COVID? Are you going to say that they died from chemotherapy? Are you going to say that they died from stage 4 cancer? What are you going to say they died of? And it's never been the case where if someone, there's a preferential treatment to one of the comorbidities. So typically doctors will put on the death certificate the thing that's actually causing the disease. So there's never been a preferential treatment to one of those things if they had underlying conditions that you now say, oh, well, they died of the underlying condition and not the main condition. And so what this guy was saying is basically an argument for science. But even still, if you offer 161,000 deaths divided by 331 million people, you're still looking at a death rate of 0.00029%. So it's regardless of how you slice it, these numbers do not, in my opinion, in any way state that we should be locking everything down. It's crazy. And here's a quote from Dr. Anthony Fauci. The case fatality rate may be considerably less than 1%. Not only that, it's less than 1/4%. It's not even 1/4%. Anyway, I digress. He goes on to say, this suggests that the overall clinical consequences of big C little v may ultimately be akin to those of a severe seasonal influenza, which has a case fatality rate of approximately 0.1%. Or, I won't even say that P word, influenza, similar to those in 1957 and 1968, rather than a disease similar to SARS or MERS, which have had a case fatality rates of 9 to 10% and 36% respectively. So that's from Dr. Anthony Fauci himself. So either way you slice this, guys, something is fishy, right? Something is definitely fishy. And I'm just here to sort of look at this evidence and say, what's going on here, right? I'm happy to believe that this thing is a viral killer that's going to overtake the entire population and, kill everyone, and we all need to be, vaccinated. I'm happy to believe that if it's true. But like I said before, if that is true, then there should be no questioning. These numbers shouldn't be falsified. None of this stuff should be happening. And let me just share with you some information here that I think you might find interesting. This is the health minister of Illinois, I believe it is. And here she is talking about this. Now, this is what might get us kicked off of YouTube. But you know what? I don't care. I'm so tired of this stuff and people not knowing this information. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see if you guys can hear this.
I just want to be clear in terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. So the case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. So that means that if you were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, we're not going to take any questions. I think I'll just walk right off the stage and if this really was what they're saying it is, she shouldn't even be saying that, but then this shouldn't even be an issue. People shouldn't even be questioning that. And I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but here's a really interesting clip that I think is really powerful. Let me bring this up here. But do you see what I'm saying, guys? Like, you won't see this on MSN, NBC, CNN, Fox. You're not going to see this, because they're purposely programming the world to be afraid of something that has a 0.00029% death rate. And that's of the people that are infected, which is less than 20% of the population. And they just want people to be afraid. And I don't know, when this first whole came out, I knew from the very beginning that there's something fishy with this. There's something fishy, and we've been talking about this on the show for a long time, about this whole thing is designed to get vaccines. And, I tell Kate all the time, from a marketing perspective, it's really sloppy what they're doing. It's super sloppy because, it's like you see people parroting the mainstream narrative word for word verbatim. You ever go to a concert and, your favorite band, I've been listening to a lot of U2 lately, and, the whole entire crowd will sing the song, word for word, that the band is playing. And this is what the population is doing based on what they're saying on the news. And they're just reiterating and parroting the exact same words verbatim of what they're saying. And people are saying, well, things are, people are talking about the new normal and everything's not going to go normal until we get a vaccine. I wonder where you got that idea. Did that come from Bill Gates? Did that come from Dr. Anthony Fauci? Who'd that come from? Word for word verbatim. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to scare you into getting a vaccine. It's obvious. This is about control. This is about population. This is about vaccines. Because vaccine is orders of magnitude more powerful than the oil industry. And if you can imagine everything that runs on oil in our culture around the world, on gas and plastic, if you could imagine something 10 times more powerful, that's the pharmaceutical industry. And they will stop at nothing to get that slice of the pie that represents 70% more profit for them. So right now, as it stands, what they're making, they could make 70% more by introducing adult vaccines. And they want that adult population to be fully vaccinated. And this is what this is all about. I tell people all the time that Bill Gates, he's not a doctor, never went to college, has no business practicing medicine, injecting children, has no business doing any of these things. But there he is doing, promoting all of this stuff. And it's just so clear and so obvious to me what they're doing. And I don't know why other people can't see it. And everyone says, well, we're not going to go back to normal until we get a vaccine. Like as if the vaccine is the only way to overcome viral infections. You guys, look into things. Please look into what's on the internet, right? Look at the work of Frederick Klenner, 1940s, 1930s, reversing polio, smallpox, all of these conditions, chickenpox. For kids who were so far gone, they were in a coma. They were in a coma, guys. Bringing them back to life with high-dose IV vitamin C therapy. Now, I know Morley Robbins is rolling over right now, upset with me talking about this, but I'm just stating the facts. This is what Dr. Frederick Klenner is doing, okay? I don't recommend high-dose IV vitamin C therapy or ascorbic acid at all. But if you're on the brink of death, if you're in a coma, if you're dying from something, I say, let's do it, right? It has to do with the ceruloplasmin protein and copper bioavailability that I won't get into now. But be that as it may, if it's going to bring someone back from death, high-dose IV vitamin C therapy is a practice that's been killing viruses since the 1930s. Look at the work of Dr. Frederick Klenner and ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy, but you won't hear about these things. Methylene blue. There are over 26 things that kill viral infections. Peer-reviewed clinical studies with science to support it that I did. I did a whole video about how to kill this virus inside our Extreme Health Academy. But that's not what the news is setting you up for a vaccine. And check this out. So I'm going to play this little video. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't get us taken down. We may even be off already. I don't know. But check this out. And then we're going to take a little break, and I want to get your thoughts as well. So check this out.
From medical researchers at UCLA and Stanford universities finds the chances of contracting or dying from COVID-19 are much lower than previously thought. One America's Pearson Sharp explains.
A new study from medical scientists at UCLA and Stanford University finds the likelihood of contracting the coronavirus is much, much lower than previously thought. The study, published in late June, says the current probability of becoming infected, going to the hospital, or even death from COVID-19 is, quote, an extremely rare event. The study goes on to say that people are vastly overestimating their chances of getting sick and going to the hospital, especially here in the U.S. As part of the study, doctors reviewed public cases of infection in 100 of the largest counties across the nation. They found that an average person in an average county has a 1 in 3,836 chance of getting infected with the coronavirus, and that's without wearing a mask or doing any social distancing. Even the odds of being hospitalized are vanishingly small, even for someone who's in the at-risk category. For an average person between 50 and 64 years old, the chances of getting the virus and needing hospitalization are 1 in 852,000. And for that same person who's at risk, the chances of dying from coronavirus are 1 in 19.1 million. And those figures were for the last week of May, when deaths from coronavirus were 16 times higher than they were last week. Doctors say they were shocked to find out how low the risk of coronavirus really was. It's worth mentioning that compared to the risk of dying from coronavirus, which again is 1 in 19 million, the risk from dying in a car crash is 1 in 114. These figures come after a revelation from the CDC itself that of all deaths attributed to the coronavirus, just 6% actually died from the virus itself. The other 94% had severe underlying medical conditions. Combined with this latest data, the case for keeping the country locked down falls apart and reveals the risk to the American public appears much lower than so-called experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci had claimed. Pearson Sharp, One American News.
You know, what do you even say to that? 1 in 19.1 million chance of dying. I mean, this is like, it's getting to the point of ridiculousness and absurdity. Yet you still see people walking around with masks on, walking around socially distancing themselves, walking around trying to tell other people and yelling at other people for not doing that because they're afraid that you're going to give them big C, little v. And I think one of the things too, I think on the flip side, like it's really important for us to, not be so divisive about this. So understand people's thought process, right? They've had a lifetime of conditioning and believing the mainstream media and the mainstream news, and they think that everything they're seeing is real. So if that is the case, if people do think this is real, I understand where they're coming from, right? Because on one level, if there is really this viral pandemic that's killing everybody, then it's really important for us to wear masks and stop the spread, slow the spread, flatten the curve, right? All these words that they're trying to get us involved with, new normal, all these things are designed to affect your psyche in a deep psychological way. So I understand why they're upset, and so I think it would behoove us to have compassion on people that believe, because they're living under a tremendous amount of fear. And to try to convince anybody that any of this stuff is not real is a lot to take, right? People's worldview and entire perception of how the world really works is delicate. And sharing this information with them shatters the illusion of everything they held to be true and everything they think is normal. And in order to believe that, they have to disassociate themselves with their positions and with their opinions. And that's not easy to do, because most people think that I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, I'm a Democrat, I'm a man, I'm a woman. Most of us identify ourselves with our opinions, our work, or our belief systems. And so when you fully realize that you've been lied to and you are none of those things, it shatters the illusion of everything you held to be true. And this is what's most difficult for people to do. And this is why I keep saying to people, to try to convince someone to open their eyes and to wake up from this madness is like trying to convince them that God doesn't exist or God does exist. Like you talk to a Christian and you try to prove to them that God does not exist. Or you talk to an atheist and you try to convince them that God does exist. Or you talk to a Catholic and you try to tell them that that's the wrong religion. Or you talk to a Muslim and you try to tell them that they're a wrong religion. It's just, it calls into question the very makeup of everything they think they are. And people don't want to, believe that they've been lied to. They don't want to believe that they are gullible enough to believe, or to think that they've been not told the truth. So I understand this is really difficult for people to stomach and to take. Why would the government lie to me? Why would the media lie to me? Shoot, have I been believing lies my whole life? These are questions that Dr. Massey once told me, what will it take for us to question our beliefs? That's a really powerful question, right? What does it take for us to question our beliefs? Think about that in a deep, visceral way. And just think about that in terms of the belief system you have about anything. What does it take for us to question that? That's a really deep philosophical question to consider, right? And people don't want to go that deep. It's easier to take the pill, take the blue pill, and just believe what they're giving us on the mainstream news. And this is what makes it very difficult to convince other people. And I don't honestly think it's our job to convince other people. I think it's our job to share information that's going to help wake people up a little bit. But everyone is responsible for their own journey. Everyone is responsible for their own journey and what they hold to be true. And, it's not up to us to interfere with that in any way. So I think that it's one of those things where fear dissipates when you have more knowledge and more understanding. When you understand more fully, have a broader picture of what's really going on, then fear will dissipate through either experience or through mental knowledge, right? So it's like the example I share all the time about flying on an airplane. If you're freaked out to fly, the more you fly, the less freaked out you become. So, so I've got some more things to share with you and some more headlines to share with you, but I want to get to this question, a couple of listener questions here. And this one is about mammograms, I think.
Hello, my name is Pam Cunningham, and I recently saw a post about mammograms, and I had a ultrasound done on my breast because I don't want to have a mammogram, and I was told that it came back clear, and then 3 weeks later someone else called me from the imaging center saying that it wasn't clear, and I'm feeling a little skeptical about it. So anyway, I would love to watch that post, but I can't seem to find it in your archives. If you could send me the direct link, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Love the work you guys do.
Thanks, Pam. I appreciate that. So let me share with you, Pam. I think the interview that you're talking about is with a lady by the name of Lisa Callison. And that was episode, let me see if I can find it here for you. That was episode 363, all about mammograms and what they do, as well as thermography and why thermography is a much, much safer option than mammogram. So in that show, Lisa came to our studio in person. That was a fun show. And she talked all about thermography and mammograms and all the dangers of mammograms. And so, episode 363. So all you got to do is go to extremehealthradio.com/363, and you'll get access to that show. That was a really cool show. And, again, as with everything, right? It's like one of those things where the mainstream media wants you to, and the mainstream wants you to get mammograms. And these tests are highly, highly suspect and damaging in powerful ways. So just know that. And, I think, like we say all the time, in the age of information, ignorance is just a choice. So we live in the information age, at least for now. I don't know how much censorship is going on, but, do your research, guys. Do not listen to your doctor. If he's trying to put, or he or she's trying to force something on you quickly, go home, do some research, and start questioning things. Here's another question about, this is one of our most popular guests that we've ever had on the show. He's only been on one time, and I don't know why he was so popular, but if you don't know who he is, check this out.
Hi, I'm trying to find Robert von Salbacher, and I lost track of him some years ago, and your site is about the only one that still carries his stuff. So where is he? What's up with him? Doubt I'll get a response to this, but hopefully so. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, my friend. So Robert von Sarbacher was episode 40. Probably, I think, one of the most popular episodes we've ever done. And again, I don't know why. He's a very controversial guy, but he's the guy that talks about the mini beet protocol, MINI, mini beet, like the vegetable, mini beet protocol for your liver health. And so that was at extremehealthradio.com/40. And subsequently, since we've had him on, his website is no longer available. I don't know what happened to it, but his website was really bizarre. There's something I don't know if I was 100% on board with what he was saying. Something was a bit odd with him. He did let us have a lot of his articles and put them on our website, so that's probably how you found us, through searching Robert von Sarbacher on Google. Yeah, and when you do that, a lot of times people will find our website that way, but... Yeah, so Robert von Sarbacher, episode 40, and I'll put links to everything that we talk about here, the news articles, all the stuff. I've got everything at extremehealthradio.com/671. But with that, we're going to take a little break, and I've got some more information to share about the big C, little v, and I want to get your opinion on it. So if you're in the chat room right now on YouTube, if you have any questions specifically for me, type them in all caps, and hopefully I'll be able to see them and answer them, so that I don't miss any of these questions. But so I want to tell you right now, this is a little clip from our friend Dr. Donnie Wilson talking about aloe vera. And aloe vera should definitely be a part of your strategy. It is a magical, magical substance that I recommend everyone be on almost daily. So check out what Dr. Donnie Wilson talked about in terms of aloe vera.
And then I encourage, we can talk more about this. What do I do to help people speed up the healing of leaky gut?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you mentioned aloe before, mm-hmm. and that is one of the herbs that I definitely recommend, using for helping to heal leaky gut. You want to use herbs that are anti-inflammatory and soothing and healing to the intestinal lining. So aloe is a great one.
Aloe is not just a great one, probably the best one. And if you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook, assuming we're still streaming, who knows if we are, Stockton Aloe One is a product that we recommend. Ideally, though, the best is to grow your own aloe vera. That's the ideal with all this situation. But with how busy we are, it's really challenging. And aloe vera, it's antiviral. It's great for putting on wounds. It's loaded with, minerals and enzymes, amino acids, and long-chain polysaccharides, sugars, and it's got over 75 different compounds just in it itself. It's, like I said, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and it's an immune system stimulator. This stuff is awesome because it doesn't have any of those excipients and weird ingredients that you see at the ones at the health food store. And they make some good ones too, but this one from Stockton Aloe One is raw, so they don't cook it, they don't heat process it. It's hand harvested. They have their own farm. It's unfiltered, it's unprocessed. Like I said, they don't heat it. There's no preservatives. There's no chemicals. It's just the aloe vera itself. And they ship it to you immediately after they harvest it, and they ship it to you frozen. So the maintenance dose is like anywhere from 1 to 8 ounces a day. And a therapeutic dose, if you're having any stomach issues, digestive issues, is 24 ounces a day. But I would just recommend starting off with one. You buy 2 half-gallon containers. And I'm telling you guys, this should be part of your overall digestive health strategy. This stuff it's just amazing. And Rodney Stockton, who's the guy behind this, he lived till I think he was 96. And of course, he said that when asked why he lived so long or why he's so healthy, so old, he attributed it to the daily consumption of aloe vera. I don't know if that's true. Of course, everyone's going to say their product is the reason why they are living so long and all that good stuff. But I will say, though, that it should be a part of your overall health strategy. So if you go to our store, biochargeme.com, you can get access to it and buy 2 half-gallon containers. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that. Just a great, great product. And I love sort of partnering with people like this doing good work, really, really doing good work. And it's just an honor to do that, to give you a great product. We make a commission, it helps support our work, and it supports the company as well. And I love supporting good people offering great products. And so, but check this out. Here's a little clip from Dr. Judy Mikovits, and she's been enemy number one, enemy of the state recently for her thoughts about Big C, Little V. But we had her on the show a while back, and you should listen to that show that she was on. That show was crazy. She was actually put in jail for her beliefs about vaccines and stuff like that. And her website's plaguethebook.com. But check out what she has to say about jumping up and down on these Bellicon rebounders.
And let's think about the simplest thing. I used to do one of those rebounders for exercise back in the 80s and things like that. And it's a wonderful way to move your lymphatics, because a lot of these toxins simply clog up the highways. Think about LA. That's why I take the train, because you can't get there from here. There's so much road construction, narrowing down to 3 lanes here and there. That blocks it all up. That's with the lymphatics. That's with the blood. That's why we see all this swelling and inflammation. And then all of these toxins are talking to the cells that say, I have to go repair. And overdoing repair causes cancers, because you need to turn that off.
Yeah, guys. So jumping up and down every day on a mini trampoline is probably the healthiest exercise you could do. It's not going to build big muscles, and it's not going to, improve your cardiovascular conditioning. You're not going to do this to prepare for a marathon. This is more of a longevity exercise that's specifically designed to open and close all of these one-way valves that we have. So most doctors aren't taught much about the lymphatic system of the body. They're taught more about the blood. But it turns out there's actually more lymphatic fluid in our body than there is blood. And the reason for that is because your lymph nodes are what stores toxins. So that's why whenever you're sick and you go to a doctor, they check your lymph nodes, right? They swell up around your neck, underneath your armpits, and your groin. If you got an infection on your hand, your lymph node in your armpit's going to swell up, because these lymph nodes are what protect your internal organs, right? So if you have an infection on your hand, you don't want that infection, getting to your heart or getting to your liver, these very vital organs, right? So your lymphatic system is part of your immune system that stores these toxins. The problem is that they're filled with one-way valves that are only stimulated, and they only open and close upon manual stimulation. So that's why, like jumping up and down, like if you did jump rope, that would be a great exercise. But the problem with that is that all that pressure and the G-force, the negative G-force, gets applied to your joints, to your knees, to your ankles, and that's not good. So what you want to do is soften that and mitigate that by over 90% with the Bellicon. And these things are awesome. You jump up and down for about 20 minutes, stimulate your lymphatic system, increase endorphins, increase your circulation, increase your cardiovascular health, and then you jump in the sauna after that. That's what I like to do. So these things have been a part of my life for about 8 years now, when I first learned about them, and they're just incredible. So what's cool is that you can buy them, and they have foldable legs. You can store them underneath your bed, put it out, and just get on a regular routine. Like, put it in your office, and maybe just have it there. Take it to work maybe, and just put it in your office, or put it in a part of your house where you can just jump on it for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and then you can add up to, or do it like I do. I do it outside for 30 minutes. But the better way to do it is to do it all day long, just a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's one of the greatest exercises you could do for your health. So consider getting one of these Bellicons. It's my favorite rebounder by far. And these are available at biochargeme.com. And they're silent, they're portable, they last forever. Like I said, we've had ours for about 8 years. Just great machines. So check that out, Bellicon Rebounders at biochargeme.com, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Extreme Health Radio, and I hope you're enjoying this show. Please share it with your friends by tagging at Extreme Health Radio on Instagram. Stay tuned for new shows weekly.
Yeah, guys, follow us on Instagram if you could. We don't know how long we're going to be on any of these platforms. Who knows? Well, there's a war for truth right now. There's a war of ideas. There's definitely a suppression and a censorship of information going on. And they're actively trying to squash and shut down. This censorship thing is real, guys. It's real. And, people that are speaking the truth and things that are actually really going on are being demonetized. They're being deplatformed. Their videos are being taken off, and they're having to use other outlets. And so right now we're allowed to be on YouTube and Facebook and whatever, and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. But I imagine that at some point we're not going to be on there anymore. So follow us where you can. The best thing to do, I would suggest, if you want to keep up to date with our shows that we do every week, is to sign up to our newsletter. And if you go to extremehealthradio.com, we'll send you a couple emails a week letting you know about past shows, present shows, upcoming shows, all that kind of stuff, and our live shows as well. So make sure to check out that. If you go to extremehelearning.com, you can sign up to our newsletter, and that would be the best way. And plus, there's a special bonus. Right after you sign up, I'm not sort of able to say it publicly, but right after you join, I send you a special bonus. It's only available, I think, for 24 hours or something. So check that out, extremehealthradio.com/subscribe, and you can check that out. Before I get back to the big C, little v, I want to share with you some thoughts about selenium and the mineral selenium. And I've got a couple articles that I want to share with you along with some test results, because it just so happens that I re-listened to a popular podcast that we did, which is actually episode 2 of our show with Keith Pendlebury. And I just happened to stumble across this, so I listened to it. And the information he was sharing about selenium was incredible. And it's one of the most anti-cancer minerals that you could ever consume. And as many of you guys know, the selenium in our soil is woefully depleted. And selenium is incredible for your immune system. And I was happy to find out that it's also sort of promoted or touted, or whatever the word you might want to use, in the root cause protocol from Morley Robbins. Although he focuses and puts the highlight and the spotlight on magnesium, copper, and iron, but also selenium is key. So let me share with you, I want to share with you a couple different articles here that I think you guys might find interesting when it comes to selenium. And if you're watching, or if you're listening to the podcast version, you might want to check this out, because or I'll share the link to this, I should say. But here's something from GreenMed Info. Let me bring this up to you guys so you guys can see it on video version. And this is the 6 benefits of selenium. And, you know, it's kind of like melatonin, or it's kind of like vitamin D. These things are so powerful that to write an article that says top 6 benefits of selenium almost doesn't do it justice, right? But I'll just read them to you anyway. Like, for example, melatonin. People think, oh, it's a sleep hormone, right? It's what people, it's what makes you tired. But melatonin is so incredibly powerful. It's the #1 anti-cancer hormone you make endogenously. You make it inside your body through light, right? And through your pituitary gland. And, it's often just talked about as being the hormone that makes you go to sleep, but it's the most anti-cancer hormone, melatonin. Anyway, here you go. 6 top benefits of selenium. It's an antioxidant and reduces oxidative stress. So oxidative stress contributes to a variety of diseases such as diabetes, atherosclerosis, the hardening of the blood vessels, inflammatory conditions, high blood pressure, heart disease, neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, cancers, and contributes to aging. So supplementing with selenium was reviewed in 13 studies showing significant impact on 3 antioxidant markers, thus reducing that oxidative stress. So there you go, right? Eating Brazil nuts. See, Brazil nuts are typically touted as being very high in selenium, and that's true, assuming that the Brazil nut itself was grown in soil that has adequate amounts of selenium in the soil. So with NPK fertilizers and Roundup and acid rain liberating iron from the soils, I'm not so sure that Brazil nuts would be the best way to get your selenium, although they could be a really great way to fill in the gaps, right? It says here it was found to increase plasma selenium, increase enzymatic antioxidant activity of glutathione peroxidase, and reduce oxidation in low-density LDL cholesterol in a study of 91 patients. So there you go. Skin health, number 2. In a meta-analysis of 27 studies with a total of 1,300 patients and 7,000 healthy controls, selenium levels were found to be low in patients with 4 skin diseases: psoriasis, acne vulgaris, chloric acne, and atopic dermatitis. Another research study of DNA reprogramming of inflammatory cells confirms that higher selenium levels may instill protective properties for genes important for psoriasis prevention and treatment. It was also found to be beneficial in the treatment of psoriasis in a systemic review of research. So it talks about skin aging, skin elasticity, and skin roughness. And then here goes with asthma. As mentioned, selenium as an antioxidant has been found to lower oxidative stress. This, in turn, seems to reduce allergic asthma. In addition, dietary selenium as an antioxidant therapy may be important in optimizing asthma treatment and prevention. So a study of 25 asthmatic patients and 25 healthy subjects, asthmatics had lower concentrations of selenium, increased oxidative stress markers and inflammation, and decreased antioxidant glutathione peroxidase activity and lung function. So if you have thyroid issues, it's an essential micronutrient for your body and readily found in the thyroid. As a supplement, it can help prevent immune-mediated thyroid disorders by reducing anti-thyroperoxidase antibody levels and improving thyroid ultrasound features. So 200 milligrams a day significantly improved the quality of life, reduced ocular involvement, and slowed the progression of 159 patients with mild Graves' disease, also called thyroid eye disease. So here it is for heart health. In a study of 2,000 patients, dietary selenium intake had a moderate negative association with metabolic syndrome. In a study of 501 British volunteers ages 60 to 74, supplementation with selenium 100 micrograms a day, 200 micrograms, or 300 micrograms showed progressive decreases in total cholesterol profiles for those with low selenium levels, but cautions that those with already high selenium levels intake may be adversely affected by extra selenium supplementation. In a 12-year follow-up of the group of healthy elderly participants who were supplemented with selenium and coenzyme Q10 for 4 years, there is a significantly reduced risk of cardiovascular mortality in the treatment group by 28% compared to the placebo group, 38%. And here you have the last one, brain boosting. So it talks here about Alzheimer's. And a large body of studies suggest that selenium containing compounds or selenoproteins is involved in most of the molecular pathways that are important in the progression of dementia and therefore have the potential to help prevent or improve Alzheimer's disease. In a mouse model, selenium yeast showed several benefits of Alzheimer's patients. It decreased the generation of amyloid and enhanced autophagic clearance. Old cells recycled, basically autophagy, I don't know what that word is, which reduced the burden of amyloid function, or accumulation, I should say. So this is really interesting, right? So something as simple as selenium is so good for all of these things, and that's covering the number 1 and number 2 causes of death, cardiovascular diseases, and cancer, not counting third cause of death, which is doctors themselves, but we won't talk about that. And here's a study from PubMed, the inhibition of human breast cancer cells by selenium. It says here, let's see. Here's an interesting, the perinatal administration of sodium selenate also significantly inhibited the growth of the cancer cell lines transplanted into the nude mice. Selenium administration of 0.8 micrograms of the body weight resulted in 80 to 93% reduction in the rate of tumor growth without apparent ill effects on their host. So this is really interesting, guys. So if you're looking to prevent cancers or prevent diseases of any kind, look at increasing your selenium levels, guys. So 200 micrograms a day, or you could listen to the show we did with Keith Pendlebury, where he was working with a friend of his, reversing his, I think it was it colon cancer, or was it, gosh, what kind of cancer did he have? I forget. That's going back to 2012 when we had Keith back on the show. Gosh, what was the cancer he had? His friend had a particular type of cancer and basically used selenium only to overcome that. And when he got off of the selenium, the cancer came back. And when he got back on the selenium, the cancer went away. It was a really interesting story. So you might want to check that out. So it's really fascinating. That is extremehealthradio.com/2, because he was the second show that we ever did. Crazy, right? He's the second show that we ever did. Crazy. So that was with Keith Pendlebury, with his friend with cancer. But then you're talking about other effects of it too, like I just read with breast cancer. So really, really interesting. So here's an interesting question from Sarah.
Hey, I'm really upset about all the censoring Google's doing, so I'd like to change my email so I don't have Gmail anymore. What service would you recommend changing an email to? I really don't want to go with Yahoo, and I have iCloud, which I could use, but I'm not really sure if Apple is just the same or any better, or what would you suggest if I wanted to change my email to? Thanks.
Gosh, right? Censorship is becoming such an issue, right? These days, them listening to your phone calls. And I mean, the one that I can think of probably would be Proton Mail, Proton Mail. And I think that is supposedly supposed to be a little bit more free, Proton Mail. So you might want to check into that, Sarah. So yeah, thanks for your question. It wasn't really health related, but I wanted to get back to you on that too. So yeah, check out this. We got an interesting, good question here from one of our listeners, Oscar. He says, "Hey Justin, I listen to your show, and whenever I go on Amazon, I'll make sure to support you. Thanks for doing what you do. I wonder if you could just try to write down what you eat in a day and throughout the week. When you eat, what you eat, and how much. Whose recommendations has resonated with you the most? Most of your podcasts are focused on foods, so it would be really interesting to hear a solo podcast focus on foods, not to copy what you do, but I think it would be very interesting," Oscar. Thanks, Oscar. Yeah, I think each one of us, like I said, I think each one of us is unique, and I don't think it's really beneficial for people to copy other people. But I can just share briefly kind of what I do. So I've been following lately the root cause protocol a little bit from Morley Robbins. So in the morning, what I'll do is I'll typically have like a big, right when I wake up, I'll have about a mason jar full of water. So it sort of starts from the night before. I make 3 mason jars full of water. I'm 6 feet, 180 pounds. So I drink about 3 mason jars full, which is almost 100 ounces of water a day, mineral-rich water. And as you can see, here's one of them right here. I should take a sip of right now. But I drink that upon waking. I just drink it all down in one gulp. And I know that a lot of people might contest that because allegedly the body's only able to utilize and absorb 4 ounces of water at a time. But I just do it, right? So, and then the night before, I usually take maybe some activated charcoal, or I take some clay to sort of detox throughout the night. Excuse me. And then that morning I'll wake up and I'll have, ideally a piece of fruit, and I'll let that sit for about 20 minutes or so, following the Fit for Life guidelines. I feel best when I eat fruit alone on an empty stomach. And then after that, I might have some eggs and some bacon, or some eggs, obviously all organic, free range, all of that coming from good farms and good healthy animals. Or I'll have like an egg sandwich on homemade sourdough bread that Kate will make for me. And then after that, I'll have our coffee. So typically what I'll do is I'll make a whole pot of coffee, and I'll add some fats to it, like ghee and butter, coconut oil and coconut butter. I'll add some stevia to it. I'll add some honey and maple syrup. I'll add some cacao powder and some mushroom powders and I've been really liking Laird's Creamer lately. Really good stuff. That stuff is really good. Been adding, a bunch of powders to it, along with the fats and some sweetener to the coffee, and that'll keep me full for hours. In fact, that's what I had this morning, and so I typically can go all the way to lunch with that. And then lunch, I might have some eggs, or I might have some turkey or something, and some avocado. Just a sort of a heavier, denser meal, but not really a full meal at lunch. I'll just have just a little bit of it, a small amount, but the food itself is a heavier type of food. So, and then come dinner time, I'll have just whatever Kate makes, and typically I'll take my supplements with that. I'll have, throughout the day, I'll take my aloe vera that I just mentioned before. I'll take some magnesium bicarbonate, which I make. I take beef liver supplements, thyroid supplements. I take magnesium malate and magnesium glycinate supplements. I take a lot of the MitoLife supplements, the vitamin E, and the systemic enzymes from MitoLife, and the Dairy Absorb, and the Shilajit. Those are great supplements from MitoLife, and they're in our store, and there's a discount for, I think, 15% off Matt gave us. I'll take those supplements, and and then for lunch or for dinner, we might eat out once a week, and I'll have, once a week we might have pizza. Organic, grass-fed cows and pizza, so that's always fun when we do that. And typically I might have some beef or something like that with dinner, ground beef or what, whatever Kate makes, but I'll try to food combine properly, and I'll try to eat it so I'm not, going to bed on a full stomach. And so it's basically just a pretty basic kind of diet is what I've been doing. So hope that answers your question, Oscar. And here's one from Ben. Says, can I ask how you got started with podcasting? Did it take long to develop comfort with just openly discussing topics this way? So this was in response to episode 668, which I don't recall what that was, actually. Episode 668. That was only just a few episodes ago. Ben, so how I got started with podcasting was we started in 2012. And prior to that, I had been listening to podcasts probably for years before that. And I started watching YouTube videos when YouTube came out around 2005 or 6, when YouTube sort of was introduced into our culture, forever changing the landscape of our entire world. So I started listening and learning and reading and trying and experimenting and, networking and just sort of living this lifestyle as much as I possibly could to get healthier. And so, and then I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I figured, you know what, why not, instead of listening, why not just, I've learned enough to where hopefully I can ask some intelligent questions. So why don't I just start my own podcast? And that was 2012, and that was crazy. We've been doing it for 8 years now, which is nuts. But did it take a long time to develop comfort with just openly discussing topics this way? Yeah, you know what? It's interesting, Ben, you say that, because I still feel not fully comfortable after 670 shows. I think it's one of those things where you feel like right now I'm talking into a microphone and people around the world are going to be listening, and people are listening live. And so I'm sort of presenting, but it's really challenging because you want to, on one level, make it so that you're having a conversation, right? And so I think the comfort only comes through experience. And I'm constantly working on that and trying to become more and more comfortable, and not trying to be somebody else and not trying to project myself like someone else does. And I think that's really, happening a lot, is people copy and emulate other people. And I think it's really important to be as genuine as you possibly can. That way, there are no secrets. And if you try to be someone else, it just depletes your energy. And I think that it's possible to speak with passion and speak with conviction and courage without screaming and yelling, and without being bombastic and, screaming and yelling. I see that a lot, and I don't think that is going to be what propels us to mass awakening. I think it's, all of us being more genuine and sharing our true selves and sharing what's really going on. And so developing that comfort just sort of happens over time. So I appreciate that. Ben, a lot of cool questions. Let's see here. What else? I have so much to share with you guys. Okay, so check this out. Okay, you know what? Before that, let me see if you guys have any questions on YouTube, because you guys are chatting it up here. This is cool. So Dr. Ace Harden, dude, you're so cool, man. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, man. I love seeing you in the chat, and I love seeing you just everywhere. It's just so great. Hello, Extreme Health family. Hello, Justin. Sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Let's see. Yeah, I guess you could just rewind, I guess, right? Adele says no more Intramax. You got me on that. Yeah, that's right. I do take Intramax. When I run out of Intramax, I kind of cycle between Intramax and what's the other one? The Shilajit from Matt Blackburn from Mitolife. So yeah, I do both. But Intramax is a really interesting product. It's got over 419 different ingredients in it, which is really powerful. So I like Intramax a lot. Adele, great to see you here. Adele's a member of our academy, and I haven't seen you in the academy for a while, so it's super cool. Pam Popper is 100% vegan, but doesn't promote a vegan diet for everyone. She does recommend only organic grass-fed meat and no factory farm meat. Yeah. I've been hearing her name come up a lot more recently. Pam Popper. I need to look into her work, which is cool. Jennifer says she loved Laird's creamer. I know that stuff is so good, right? That stuff. If you haven't added the Laird's creamer to your coffee, do it, because it's so good. Oh my gosh, I love that stuff. Can you also please interview Dr. Tom Cowan? Yeah, we've had him on a few times, so he's in our archives if you guys want to check that out. He's been on 3 or 4 times. Interview Tom Barnett or SV3RIGE. I don't know what that is. They have interesting shows on water. Okay, yeah, if you want to send me their links, that'd be great. The studies on colostrum, Sandra, you can check those out on Surthrival. So if you go on to biochargeme.com and click over, that'll support our work if you purchase anything from Surthrival. But Daniel's got studies on colostrum there. Okay, so let's see. I will be hitting that replay button. Glad to be here. Yeah, dude, I love you, Ace. You're awesome. I believe a wide spectrum diet also gives the body trace minerals it needs to complete circuits, raising your voltage. Dr. Jerry Tennant, voltage is health. Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar, Dr. Jerry Tennant has a lot of interesting work on voltage and the voltage gated calcium ion channels of our cell membranes and raising the cellular voltage. And he has a lot of correlation between disease, sick cells and the voltage they carry. So when a cell has proper and adequate voltage, aka copper, if you're looking from a mineral perspective, because copper is what increases voltage in the body and electrical charge, then there is cellular health. So we're working on getting Dr. Tennant on the show. I've known about his work for years. He's great. He's a great guy. Do you think all this nonsense has a deadline? If so, when will it be? Rosalind, that's such a good question. I do not think so. I honestly do not think that we're going to ever go back to normal. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I honestly don't think the culture and society and the psyche of our entire culture is ever going to go back to normal. I think people have been permanently damaged by this, and I think everyone's going to live in fear. And you watch what happens this coming flu season. People are going to be freaking out. Any sign of a cough, imagine being in line at like a CVS or a grocery store and someone behind you coughs, or if you cough, the person behind you or in front of you is going to just turn around. They're going to be freaked out. Because this is a psychological warfare that's going on and manipulation of our culture and our society. And so I'm not seeing anything in my timeline. I think the next couple months are going to be massive amounts of chaos with the elections coming up. There's already been all kinds of rioting and looting and stuff like that. I think the best thing for all of us to do is to really tighten that connection to your food up, grow some of your own food, invest in some fruit trees, invest in some chickens, start storing up some food. You know, I'm not a person who promotes fear and things, but I think you have to look at the writing on the wall, and really take stock of your own life and your food, you know, the connection to your food. So, you know, Adele says, Peggy from The Healthy American has lots of great info. You know, Adele, it's funny because we were just talking about her in the Academy this morning on our Zoom room. So for those that don't know, we do a Zoom call every Friday morning. And we have a live call on there. And I was just talking about Peggy from The Healthy American, and we have some of her videos inside the COVID-19 section of the Academy. We have a whole TTAC section now in the Academy, and we have some of her videos. And I'm going to be reaching out to her to see if she'll do a radio show, but then also a really detailed boots on the ground sort of actionable steps we can take to help overcome what we're going through right now. She's awesome. thehealthyamerican.org. Follow her. Zaskia says, Justin, what do you think about Organo Living Silica? It's a liquid silica supplement. Yeah, Organo Living Silica, I've heard great things about it. And I've taken it before, years ago. And I think it's a good product. Yeah, I think it's a great product. Depends what you're going to use it for. I can't believe all the people are buying this big C, little v BS. Our government is lying along with the CDC, the WHO, the Gates, Fauci. I turned TV and MSM media off months ago. Yeah, guys. So this, I don't know if you guys watched the videos that we played a little while ago, but you know, this stuff is being propagated to us, and it's not true. The death rate is 0.000029%, not even a quarter of 1% of those that are infected. And those that are infected, the average death is 80 years old, longer than people actually live. 40% of those come from nursing homes. The CDC, like I mentioned before, 6% of the 161,000 people that have died have only one comorbidity, and that is the COVID-19. If you listen to the show that we did with Dr. Andy Kaufman a while back, he puts the big C little v up against what they call Koch's postulates. That's a series of 5 philosophical truths that you have to put something through in order to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that A causes B, B causes C, C causes D. So basically this thing causes death, and they haven't even been able to get through step number 1, which is identifying the virus itself. They haven't even identified the virus. And he goes so far as to say that there is no such thing as a family of coronaviruses. This is a medical doctor saying this. So prove it, right? Prove this, that these things exist. Prove that they're doing in the body what they say they're doing. Show me on an electron microscope. Show me killing people. I want to see all the evidence and the proof. Because if you're going to ask me to invest and change my way of life for something you can't even prove, that just makes no logical sense. Right? I know I'm speaking to the choir here, and I know you guys think the same way I do. And I think that sometimes we just need to be around other people that have logical, reasonable thoughts about what's going on in our culture. So let me see if there's any other questions here in the chat room. It's super cool to see you guys here. I love it when you guys are here. We've had so many other pandemics before, COVID 1984, like mainstream porn consumption, racism, feminism, veganism. Oh my gosh, if you get Jerry Tennant on the show, please ask and see if he can play a video where his friend's hand is regrown. I couldn't find the video to see. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. What kind of poisoning do you think the powers to be used to blame the unmasked movement in San Francisco during the Spanish flu? Why no class action lawsuit yet regarding all of these restrictions, masks not based in science? Man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, guys. So much going on. So let me bring up this this article here that I can show you here. I think you guys will find it interesting. Check this out. So this is crazy, right? Bring this up to you here. Bring it up on the screen for those that are watching on video. And here's a article. This is out of, let me bring this up. This is out of muchaboutcorona.ca. Much ado about corona.ca. COVID-19 fatality rate, worst miscalculation in the history of humanity, says PhD candidate in epidemiology. So here's the part that's interesting. It says here, Dr. Brown added that the CDC and the WHO documents show that the case fatality rate for influenza was similar to the coronavirus, implying that the lockdowns were pointless. His paper questions why the 2017 and 2018 influenza season in the United States did not, quote, receive the same intensive media coverage as COVID-19. He points out that the, quote, accuracy of the coronavirus tests rushed into production during the pandemic were unknown, end quote. And he explores how the media began focusing on an increase in coronavirus cases while ignoring the decrease in death rates. So this is all like, it's interesting. If you read the beginning of this, it says here, the subject of the article is disruptive to say the least. Although it's not obvious from the title, Dr. Brown told me in an email, the manuscript cites the smoking gun, documented evidence showing that the public's overreaction to the coronavirus pandemic was based on the worst miscalculation in the history of humanity, in my opinion. My manuscript underwent an intensive peer review process. You are the first media guy who has responded to my invitation. Crazy, right? I mean, this kind of stuff, it's like if you follow accounts, you'll see this kind of information. And check this out. Let me show this from the New York Times. I mean this is kind of like just stuff that makes you go, what are we doing here, guys? Like, what's happening? This is out of the New York Times. And the title of it is, more than 40% of the U.S. coronavirus deaths are linked to nursing homes. God. So it goes through here. And let me bring this up here. Infected people linked to nursing homes also die at a higher rate than the general population. The median case fatality rate, the number of deaths divided by the number of cases at facilities with reliable data, is 16%, significantly higher than the 3% case fatality rate nationwide. I mean, this is saying that 40% of the people that die allegedly from coronavirus, are linked to nursing homes. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Like, if you're going to believe the mainstream narrative, if you're going to believe this stuff, then I have no help for you. Like, there's nothing I could do. If you want to live in fear, if you want to live in a world where you outsource your health, you outsource your finances, you outsource your entire life to the government and to media and to big businesses, then there's nothing more that we can do. You are going to live in fear. You're going to walk around with masks on. You're going to be afraid to get any closer than 6 feet to other people. You're going to be afraid that at any moment someone can cough on you, and you're going to get this novel big C little v infecting and invading your body, and you're going to live in complete and total fear. If you want to live like that, that's fine. But when the evidence clearly shows that this is not the case, I don't know what else to do for you. I honestly don't know what to do, because it seems to me that people want to live in fear, and they want the government to come and save them from this pandemic that's killing all people. And, it's just, I honestly don't know. And I think it comes down to this idea of personal responsibility. Right? There's no this whole thing of public health is a misnomer. There's no such thing as a public health. There's personal health. Why do some people get the coronavirus and some people don't? Why do some people get the flu and some people don't? Why do some people get chickenpox and some people don't? Why do some people get SARS? Why do some people get mumps or measles and some people don't? Is it the environment, or is it the internal milieu of our internal environment? Is it outside forces causing our bodies to become sick, or is it the 5G? Is it what's causing these things? And I think that it's easier for people to outsource their health. I see this a lot, and you guys probably see this too. Like, oh, getting sick, cancer. Oh, it's just random, So he just gets sick a lot. We don't know why, and it's difficult, because people don't want to look at the underlying causes that could be contributing to a weakened immune system and people actually getting sick. They don't want to look at their environment, the light that they're living under, the toxic fumes coming up from their carpets that they're walking in, their mattresses that are sprayed with formaldehyde, the chemicals that are in their paint on their walls, the dirty electricity that are coming from their walls. They don't want to look at the Wi-Fi, the router right outside or right inside their bedroom, or they want to look at the smart meter. They want to be addicted to their cell phones. And then they want to say, oh, well, it's just a random thing. Or they don't want to look at the genetically modified food they're eating. They don't want to look at these things. They would just say, oh, well, so-and-so, he just gets sick often or whatever. And I think that what this causes us to do is it makes us and forces us to actually take complete responsibility for our health. Check this out. Let me show you this thing here. This is a YouTube video. I'm not going to play it because it'll get us kicked off probably of YouTube for sure, because we're playing someone else's content. But I'll just put the screenshot up of it and let you know. This is titled Johann Jaseski, the SARS-CoV iceberg. 98% to 99% of cases are very mild or asymptomatic. And this is the leading epidemiologist for the country of Sweden, whose country didn't go on lockdown, didn't practice social distancing, didn't shut down the entire economies and businesses for whatever you want to call this. And this is the guy that is behind, and he says that this whole lockdown thing was done and it was not right. And this is the leading epidemiologist for the country of Sweden, Dr. Johann Jaseski. And on YouTube, you can search the SARS-CoV-2 iceberg. Maybe just put in that. Or it also goes on to say 98 to 99% of cases are very mild or asymptomatic. And he goes on to say, basically, in this talk with, I think it's Sky News or something, Sky News with Australia, that the lockdowns, are basically doing more harm than good, and they're not allowing, people to reach that herd immunity. So it's people ask me all the time, what do you think this is? What is this? Is this a fake virus? Is it caused by 5G? Well, in my opinion, this is just a virus. I don't know if it's possible. I mean, maybe it's possible. Dr. Andrew Kaufman was right. There is no such thing as a coronavirus, and it's more based on exosomes. He's a very smart guy, and he's done a lot of research, and maybe that's true. All I know is that from a symptom perspective, this is nothing more than a flu at best, and That's not to make light of the people dying. Who knows if the people dying or being on respirators, if they're being denied treatment in hospitals, which we saw at the beginning of this. Who knows if their average of 2.6 other comorbidities played a role. Who knows what's really going on with all these other things. And so, it's difficult to know, and I don't think we're ever going to know. But here's an article out of the Daily Wire that I think is interesting here. Check this out. I'll bring this up right here so you guys can take a look. The Daily Wire, UK may scrap Big C little v daily death toll after experts find officials, quote, over-exaggerating death count, report alleges. So it says here, the United Kingdom may scrap its official daily coronavirus death toll counter after a review by Oxford University experts of how the deaths were counted reportedly found the results were being, quote, over-exaggerated. Quote, the conclusions of the review, which is ordered by Matt Hancock after its emerged officials were over-exaggerating deaths from the virus, are expected this week, the Telegraph reported. One expected recommendation would be to stop the daily reporting altogether and move to a weekly official death toll instead, a government source said on Sunday night. So this is like, you don't see these articles. They're out there, but you have to search and find them is the problem. And you just do not see these types of articles on the mainstream news. And it's weird, right? Because why would the CDC or why would the Daily Wire, which is, a part of the mainstream, in my opinion, why would they put this out there? Why would the CDC admit that only 6% of the 161,000 are caused only from COVID? I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts on why they would admit that, that would be interesting to know, because I don't understand why they would admit that. And I saw oh gosh, it's just like the layers that this goes is so far deep. Check this out. There's another article. I mean, this is coming from, where is this coming from? The Daily Sun? Yeah. Death flaws, it says. Thousands of coronavirus deaths set to be wiped off official records following urgent review. Let me close this out right here. Of course, they're showing people in hazmat suits and people with face coverings. Thousands of COVID deaths are set to be wiped off official records following an urgent review into counting flaws. The scientists raised the alarm after discovering anyone who tests positive and later dies is currently included in the Public Health England numbers, even if they are hit by a bus month later. It's the same thing, guys, they're doing with the cancer numbers, right? If you live past 6 years, if you have chemotherapy, radiation for cancer, and you live to 6 years and you die, you're considered to be a cancer patient that benefited from chemo, right? A success, right? Because it's only 5 years that they're looking at. So it's like they're manipulating the numbers. It's like that book that Bill Gates had on his thing that says lying by statistics or something was the title of the book. It's basically what they're doing. It says here, it means no one can ever recover from the virus, and all of England's 265,000 confirmed cases would eventually be added to the toll. Matt Hancock will now step in and bring the figures in line with Scotland and Northern Ireland, who only count death as a COVID-related if it occurs 28 days after a person is positive. A second weekly measure, which records fatalities within 60 days of infection, will also be established. It could see England's official coronavirus death toll of 41,000 reduced by as much as 10%, or 4,100. So this is the question, guys. If someone has stage 4 cancer, if someone has coronavirus and they're testing positive for coronavirus, but they get hit by a bus or they have stage 4 cancer, they're calling it a COVID death. And I showed the video of the health minister of Illinois stating exactly that. And this is what they're doing. And I think this is probably why Trump wanted the hospitals to actually send that data into the White House itself, rather than the White House relying on the sort of filtering of that data through the CDC. And so they're manipulating the numbers to make you more fearful. That's just what they do. Here we go. Here's another article from BBC. I mean, stuff is like BBC, right? Coronavirus tests could be picking up a dead virus. So the test that they're doing is the antibody test, but they're also doing what they're called the PCR test. And I have a quote from, oh gosh, what's the guy's name? Harry Mullis or Kerry Mullis, who is the inventor of the PCR test, who's quoted as saying the PCR test, I'll read that to you in a minute, don't work. So, but anyway, the PCR test, what it does is it's basically magnifying viral particles and, to a huge degree. And it says here, the main test used to diagnose coronavirus is so sensitive, it could be picking up fragments of dead virus from old infections, scientists say. Most people are infectious for only about a week, but could test positive weeks afterwards. Researchers say this could be leading to an overestimate of the current scale of the pandemic. But some experts say it is uncertain how reliable tests can be produced that doesn't risk missing cases. Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing with our culture? What are we doing with our society? Even if all of this stuff is true, even if all of this information is true, we have ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy, guys. Look at this thing from CDC itself. This is cdc.gov. The title of it is what? Let's see. Title is on CDC, Weekly Updates by Select Demographic and Geographic Characteristics Concerning COVID-19. You scroll down, the COVID I've got it. Let's see, I've got it done here. Table 2, deaths involving coronavirus disease 2019, pneumonia and influenza reported to NCHS by place of death. United States week ending February 1st, 2020, all the way to September 5th, 2020. Total deaths, all deaths involving COVID-19, 175,866. Deaths from all causes, 1.8 million. Deaths involving pneumonia with or without COVID-19 and excluding influenza deaths, 180,000. Deaths involving COVID-19 and pneumonia, excluding influenza, 78,000. All deaths involving influenza with or without COVID-19 or ammonia, 6,671. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is cdc.gov. What are we doing, you guys? Like, what are we doing with our culture? We're shutting our businesses down. People are out of work. People are losing their businesses. People are living in fear. People can't pay their rent. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay and buy food. They can't get food for their children. They're out of work. They're living in stress and fear, and they're in lockdown inside their house where there's no photons from the sun. I mean, what are we doing, guys? Like, this whole thing is driving me crazy, seeing what we're doing, and people are just walking around like with masks on in a stupefied haze because they don't do their research. What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? Like, look at the research, guys. This information is out there. But no, we can't get back to normal without a vaccine, right? The vaccine is coming. The vaccine is coming. So let's all line up and get the vaccine. Even though they've already petitioned to have their entire companies be absolved from any legal responsibility based on the adverse effects of the vaccines, but we won't talk about that. So what company actually does that, right? Actually has legislation passed where they can't be held responsible or liable for any damage caused by their product. Thank you, Ronald Reagan, for doing that in 1986. Like, what? It's crazy, right? The vaccine is coming, right? Let's all run out and get the coronavirus vaccine, right? The only reason you do that is because you're not informed. You don't know how the human body works. You don't understand that there's alternative solutions. That's why you do that. That's fine. If you want to go get this, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna be, if you want to go, we all get to live our own journey, right? But check this out. Disabledveterans.org. Influenza vaccine military study shows 36% higher odds of coronavirus 2017 to 2018. Examining non-influenza viruses specifically, the odds of both coronavirus and human, I'm not sure what that word is, in influenza vaccinated individuals were significantly higher when compared to unvaccinated individuals. A recent military study shows military personnel evaluated who received the flu vaccine were 36% higher odds of testing positive for the coronavirus, pre-SARS-CoV-2, with varied benefit in preventing some strains of the flu. Quote, examining non-influenza viruses, specifically the odds of both coronavirus and human metapneumonia virus in vaccinated individuals were significantly higher when compared to unvaccinated individuals. Table 5. The flu vaccine studied demonstrated varied benefit in flu prevention. Some strains showed significant benefit, while others did not. Here's an update on September 9th. Science Direct truncated the study, cited, you will need to purchase access to the study to read it in its entirety for $30 to $95. So this is what they do. They hide this information behind a paywall, and most people are not going to pay for these studies. But this is what's going on. And so they're grooming everyone to get this vaccine. That's what it's been about the whole time. And if you think that these vaccines are going to come and save the day, then you have another thing coming, because this information is, and this vaccine is going to have radical impacts on our health. And I honestly don't know what else to do with people, because there's a war of information happening in our culture. They're trying to shut down and suppress anyone who's speaking the actual truth. And I get it. I understand. I mean, this type of information they don't want you to have. Speaking of, here's an email from one of our former guests. She says, hey, Justin, I hope you're doing well and for your family. So this is a perfect example of how this censorship and information warfare is happening. I hope you're doing well for you and your family. I'm writing to you in regards to the interview you did of me last year with a brain tumor. Well, blank company is asking me to reach out and have that pulled because of our wonderful FDA. They're getting pressure to have all of my brain tumor online presence removed. Something I'd rather not do, of course, but as my livelihood comes from said company, I do need to follow what they ask. This request is coming from their legal counsel. If you could help me out in removing this would be so very much appreciated. Allison. So Allison was on our show years ago talking about the brain tumor she had in her body and how she overcame it using essential oils. And that interview we had to take down because the company that she used and the company that she, I guess, works for or whatever, being pressured by their legal counsel to remove that because there's a war of information happening out there in the world today. They do not want people to realize and to know and to look and get access to studies showing anything that questions the mainstream narrative, right? So we had to pull her show down. And so that show I would reference and tell people, hey, you have a brain tumor? Listen to what Allison did and watch that show that we did with Allison, right? But this is the kind of stuff that happens behind the scenes. We get asked all the time to take down our shows, or we get pulled from YouTube or whatever because this information we're putting out is empowering information. And this is happening not just with our podcast, but it's a war of information that's happening on every level. And if they understood that we all can prevent disease and overcome disease naturally without pharmaceutical drugs, without being artificially propped up by drugs and medications, then we don't need their products and services, right? We're powerful individuals. We can overcome these things on our own. So it's not in their best interest. It's in their best interest to have a sick population who believes and does everything they tell, they're easily controlled, And so that's just the way it works, right? I mean, if you were running the world, it's not as if it's like a hard to believe thing. I mean, if you want ultimate power and control, why wouldn't you do those things? Why wouldn't you suppress information? Why wouldn't you suppress the truth? Why wouldn't you prevent information from getting out that's going to impact your bottom line? I mean, it just makes sense, right? So it's not as if this is some grand conspiracy. It's just the way the world works. It's just what happens, right? Any company or business would hope that they could either be better than their competition or wipe their competition out. And that's the same with government. And it's the same with media. And it's the same with big business. It's just the way the world works. And so to have a population that's healthy, that doesn't need to take their pharmaceutical drugs, doesn't behoove them, because people start thinking on their own. They realize they can take control of their own health. They realize I can overcome and prevent disease naturally, and I could live and help people understand the same. And when everyone starts understanding that, then you don't have a population that's easily controlled. And so it just makes total sense to me, And it's interesting too, because people will argue with me about this big C little v thing. And I often ask them, are you on any pharmaceutical drugs by chance? Well, yeah, I'm on 2 or 3. Okay, so let me just get this straight. So if you're on 2 or 3 pharmaceutical drugs, it's hard for me to accept what you're saying when you've taken zero responsibility for your own health, insofar as you now have to be artificially propped up by taking pharmaceutical drugs and medications. And now you want me to believe what you're saying about virology when you're not showing that same responsibility in your own life, because you have to be artificially propped up by drugs and medications. So if you're not able to accept that responsibility and live in such a way that you don't need their services to begin with, why should I accept anything else you have to say about virology? It's clear that you just want to be believing the mainstream, because believing the mainstream is, in my opinion, it's easy, right? It's easy to be fearful. It's easy to do all these things. It's easy to believe because everyone else believes that. And it's difficult to take full responsibility for your health. It really is. And so this is one of those things that is challenging for people, because it really causes them to start questioning their narrative. Here's an interesting video I pulled up. Check this out. Let me do this real quick. Let's check this out. I think you might like this.
Chloroquine will let the virus attack a cancer cell. I think about that. So it will protect a normal cell, but chloroquine will not protect a cancer cell because they're de-differentiated. The receptors are different. I mean, think about that. So I told him back. I said, thank you. That's the you completely misinterpreted the data, and you hid the fact. They hid it. They put it all the way down. As you know, you have to look for the data set. So I found it in the appendix, in little letters, KLU3 lung cells. This is the disinformation campaign that we are faced with. They put out a big thing, and they said, oh, it doesn't work. They put it on Medical Express. That's it for chloroquine. It's unlikely to work against SARS-CoV-2. We just proved it. No, you proved chloroquine is one of the smartest drugs in history. It will let the viruses.
So it's probably pretty evident that you won't see that video anywhere on the mainstream news, right? These are all things that people are talking about that is being suppressed. And so it's interesting because information is being suppressed, right? People that are actually speaking the truth, but at the same time, it's not being covered as well. So you have someone like this, or you have that doctor, the health minister that I shared earlier, talking about the testing with Big C Little V in Illinois, and you don't see that interview, you don't see that clip on the mainstream news. So not only are they suppressing when people are talking about it, but the things that are important that they should be reporting on, they're not covering that either. So, and then what they're filling in the place of those two things is more fear and propaganda and the manipulation of numbers. So it's this overall suppression combined with the promotion of fear and the manipulation of numbers that causes everyone to fall in line with what's going on. And someone in our academy was asking earlier about the masking, and it's my opinion that I don't think that people are going to go back to not wearing masks. I think that the American psyche has been so damaged in such a way that even if Dr. Fauci, the NIH, the WHO, the CDC, Donald Trump, and every mayor and governor in our country, in our states, came out and said, you know what, we are looking at the data, and the data doesn't support the lockdowns anymore, so we can go back to normal. If that were to happen, you would still see people walking around with masks on. Why? Because they've been so psychologically damaged and mind controlled, MK Ultra mind control, through this disassociation and fear campaign that they've been putting and dropping on us, that I think people want to live in fear. And then I think they're addicted to it, and they want to feel like they're doing something for their health, like putting a mask on, but they don't want to change their environment and do the hard, heavy lifting, right? They don't want to mitigate the dirty electricity in their walls. They don't want to fix their light environment. They want to eat a better diet. They don't want to get into a sauna and relax and sweat and detox out heavy metals. They don't want to mitigate their, effects of blue light. They don't want to do any of these things. They just want to continue eating fast food and supporting those industries that are raping and pillaging the earth and wear masks, and somehow everything's going to be okay, right? That's just the way people are, unfortunately, and it's quite sad. It's quite sad. So I don't know. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. What do you guys think? I'm going to check out the chat room real quick. If you guys have any questions for me, put them in all caps, and I love seeing what you guys are writing. It's cool. MSM controls the narrative. That's true. The masks are being treated like a fashion statement now. We've got people walking down the street with masks on with fashion prints on them. It's a damn shame. Adele says, "Oh, Justin, have faith. There are many unmasking. I know it's hard, but we must fight." Yeah, I know that we must fight, Adele, and I totally agree with you. And I'm seeing a lot of people waking up, and I think this is part of what we're calling the Great Awakening. And I'm seeing it, and it's quite on the flip side. It's like that quote from that book, A Tale of Two Cities. We live in the best of times and the worst of times. And we're all here for a reason and a purpose right now, right? And so I'm seeing a lot of people waking up to this, what's going on. And for those people that are at home quarantining themselves and doing research, I applaud you for that, because these rabbit trails that you can go down cause you to live in a state of not being 100% on solid ground, right? Because your whole entire narrative is being questioned. And for those of you that have the courage to actually go down these rabbit trails and to research and to look into what's really happening, there's so much more that I didn't even talk about today that's, I think, part of the overall agenda that I don't even want to talk about, because I think it'll definitely get us pulled off YouTube. When you start going down those rabbit trails and realizing that the world that we live in is not the world that we're presented with and we've been lied to, it starts opening up a can of worms that causes you to question everything. And I think that those of you that have the courage to live in that fulcrum, like of a teeter-totter right in the middle there where you can go either way, I think I applaud you guys for doing that. Moving beyond victimhood. What did you say? Let's see. Moving beyond victimhood, using the stage psyop as a hard school. I agree. Folks are being attacked by the police for not wearing a mask. I forget what video it was, but I'm sure you can find many of them on YouTube. It's hard. Peggy Hall has gotten many not to bother us without masks in Orange County. I am in Beverly Hills, but she is helping out our different areas. Yeah, Adele, I know. It's right. Peggy Hall is awesome. She's the healthyamerican.org, I think. Yeah, there are people being attacked. It's full, because this is turning into a mask versus unmask. This is like the vaccine versus anti-vaxxers. This is really challenging times, guys. Really, really challenging, and it's time for us to wake up and to understand what's going on and to protect ourselves. BP says the problem is once you know the truth, you feel alone because almost no one believes you. The truth sounds too crazy for most people. I know that is true, guys. The truth sounds absolutely crazy to your friends and family because they're living in a haze. They're living in a world where they've been taught that the world exists and functions in a certain particular way. And when you pull the wool out from under them, they realize the world does not work that way. We do not consent says we should meet in real life. And I agree with you. We need to find local meetup groups and meet in person and form groups where we can take back, like Dr. A says, our country back and meet in person. And I think a lot of you guys, you said, Zakia, that you're down for meeting in real life. I agree. This is the time where we need to come together in person, physically, and be with each other and help each other and share ideas. This is kind of like if you listen to the end of the show that we did with Dr. Andy Kaufman. He has these bonfires that he's doing once a week with people in his local area. I think he's in New York, and he's doing these bonfires, and it's and he's helping people strategize and come up with ideas about how to get around this. We Do Not Consent says, have you joined freedomcells.org? Is that the website, Freedom Cells? Freedom, CELLS.org? People persisting in victimhoods are getting frozen in it. I've lost 2 of my grown children to the brainwash. I know it's difficult. It's difficult. People want to live in fear, and I think the fear is addictive. And this is like predictive programming. You go through all the different media outlets, and you've seen this stuff happening, being portrayed in TV shows, in the news, on different media outlets and shows like The Simpsons, and all this stuff is being talked about. And I don't know why. People just want to live in fear, and they want to live in a world where the government's going to, protect them and keep them safe and healthy and all that. And it just doesn't work like that. We have to take control of our own health. It's just part of what has to happen. Like, this is part of what we have to do, right? We have to do the hard, heavy lifting and actually alter our environment to become healthy. Because when a fish is sick, do you change its food? Or do you fix its environment? Do you fix and clean the water it swims in? Same goes with us. What do we do with our environment? And we're living in electrified cages. It's crazy. And check out what that does.
Dirty electricity, what that does and what it is actually for people that aren't aware is when the power company is generating electricity and sending it to you, they don't have a constantly perfect, steady supply of 120 volt, 60 hertz electricity pulsing to you perfectly every time. It fluctuates quite a bit, and if you put meters on it, you can see it'll fluctuate. And so that fluctuation, and there are micro fluctuations as well, and those micro fluctuations, all that fluctuation creates these pulses in the wiring that will create EMF pulses around you. I mean, the wires themselves, when electricity is flowing through them, that will create a field around the wires that can affect you. But then when you've got all that little pulsing and micro pulsing going on, it's creating these frequencies of fields that are pulsing and affecting you negatively. And so those devices like the Greenwave, they will act like an inductor and smooth that signal out so you don't get that pulsing. And then my devices, because of the scalar fields, they will structure the EMF coming off of the wires in your house and everything else as well. I use those. I use Stetzer filters and Greenwave. I got both.
So Daniel Vitalis a while ago gave the analogy I thought was interesting about this. And he said that if you were to sort of take away all of the structure around your house, right? You remove the walls, you remove the framework, you remove all of the foundation, and you just left the wires up, somehow suspended in space, your house would look like you're living inside of an electrical cage, right? And we become addicted to those cages, and we stay inside, and we quarantine ourselves, right? And inside these cages, we're living in a microwave environment, because those wires, for some reason, most people that build houses don't properly insulate the wiring that's in all of our walls. For some bizarre reason, we went to the 60 hertz frequency of electricity. And the problem with that is the most detrimental to our human physiology. Why we didn't go with the European frequency, I don't know. But we chose the 60 hertz, which damages us. And so those wires that are in your wall produce electrical fields and magnetic fields. And if you have a meter, you can measure the amount of dirty electricity coming off your walls. And we did shows with Magda Havas and a recent one with Dr. Martin Paul. And Magda Havas was talking about the dirty electricity and what it does to your cells, to your cell membranes. And she was talking about what it does to blood sugar levels and affects the cellular biology of how cells replicate. And correlated that to diseases. And then Martin Paul was talking about recently how it breaks down the cell membrane, which is called the voltage-gated calcium ion channels, the membrane of the cell. And it breaks that down. And so what happens is that interstitial calcium in the blood floods the inside of the cell where it doesn't belong up to 1,000 times more because of this dirty electricity coming off our walls. So what happens then? He's mapped out and sort of cross-linked over 100 different diseases that occur when calcium gets inside the cell where it doesn't belong, which is crazy, right? Like, this is happening just because of the walls in our house or in our environment. That's crazy. So what do we do to mitigate this? Well, you can get these Greenwave filters, and I recommend getting these things. Put them next to your kid's bed. Put them next to your kids. If they have a workstation, put them there. Put them next to your bed. If you have an office, go put them next to you at the office. This is what we've done, and they're about like $30 each. You can buy like one, or you can buy 6 or 7 of them for your house, and they will lower the field's coming off by like 90-something%. This is one of those things, like altering your environment. You have to convince people, and you have to let people know that this is like our environment, and people just don't want to look at that stuff because it's difficult to do. So it's one of those things where I don't know. It's just really important to alter our environment, because, like I said before, if a fish is sick, do you change the water it's swimming in, or do you change its diet? My contention is that you change and alter the environment. And I mentioned sauna therapy before. This is one of my favorite things.
When people talk about sweating, most people, look at this as an isolated event. You're detoxing properly with, the infrared sauna. Making sure nutritionally on the inside, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 essential fats. Making sure that you're closing down those pathways is just as important as detoxing, because when people start detoxing their body, that's chelation. So when people want to come in and do all this chelation, I'm like, you understand, metals and minerals are cousins. I'll be pulling both out of you at the same time. So when you start chelating, these deficient people are just toxic. You're actually even pulling their minerals down at the same time, and they don't understand that. You got to push the machine like the doctors you were talking about. And learning to sweat is a fantastic way to detoxify. They claim you can get about 50% of the poisons out of you through your skin if you sweat successfully. And with your, you got a very intelligent client audience here. And the more fat you got, the more places you have to hold stuff. You want to try to get as much fat off you can, because you don't store stuff. And I wanted to go to the bathroom and show my steel cylinder. I'm going to use the steel cylinder as much as I can, because I don't want any more plastic than I have to. And people can talk about a safe plastic, and I understand there's safe plastics, but I don't know if that safe plastic was sitting out in the sun, because I can taste some of that plastic that sits in the sun. It tastes funny. We gave plastic to our kids, plastic pacifiers to our kids, plastic bottles to our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plastic everywhere.
And aluminum lined juice boxes that I've seen on the kids.
Dr. Tent is an awesome guy. Yeah, so there he is talking about the benefits of sitting in a sauna and sweating, and many of you guys took us up on the offer of the sale that we just ran recently for the Relax Far Infrared sauna, and we have other saunas too. If you guys are like sold on those wooden saunas or the Thera sauna, we have the ozone sauna. Other saunas on biochargeme.com. So if you're in the market for getting, or a near infrared sauna from Sauna Space, if you're really into one of those ones, go through our link as well, and we'll get commission. I'll help support the show. But the one I use and recommend and like a lot is the Relax Far Infrared sauna. And this to me is one of the best ways to detoxify your body. And like he was saying, those fat cells get stored with toxins, chemicals, heavy metals, poisons from our environment, and there's over 84,000 chemicals in commerce. And since the early 1960s, 60,000 new chemicals have been sort of invented. So we're living in not just an electrified environment and a microwave environment, but also a chemical-filled environment. And so how do we get these things out? Sauna therapy. But the problem, again, for the normies out there is that they don't even understand that they live in a chemical environment or they're storing these toxins. So it's a lot of work to take care of yourself, especially as we continue to modify our environment. And as we continue to alter our environment in such a way that damages our health, we have to do more and more all the time to just be at baseline, right? So this is the challenge, but I highly recommend bringing one of these saunas into your home and making your home, turning your home into a healing spa, and having access to, this kind of technology to be able to sweat and detoxify whenever you want is incredible. So consider getting one of these. If you're watching on YouTube, there should be links down below, or Facebook. And if you're listening to the podcast, this is episode 671. So I'll put links to this one and everything else that we talked about, the articles and everything else, at extremehealthradio.com/671. And we'll be right back. And I'm curious, in the YouTube comments, I would be really interested because you guys are a bunch of awakened people, and I love that about you guys. And I want to hear some unpopular beliefs that you have or opinions that you have. I think that's kind of fun because people catch a lot of flack for having an unpopular belief that they can't really share with their friends or family because they'll think they're crazy. And I won't think you're crazy. It'll be interesting and fun. And it's not a debate, kind of thing. I was just curious to see if you have any unpopular beliefs. So if you have those, type them in all caps in YouTube in the chat room. And I'd love to read some of them off. It'd be pretty cool.
Extreme Health Radio is your #1 resource for cutting-edge biohacks, news, and information about how to upgrade every area of your health. Subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.
Yeah, guys. So sign up to our newsletter. If you go to extremehealthradio.com, you'll see areas for your, you can do that, and that way you can join. And if we ever do get censored or if we ever do get removed from these social media channels, you'll be, able to get our newsletters and be able to keep up to date with our podcasts and the different work that we do. So I highly encourage you guys. Plus, there's a really cool bonus that I can't really share right now in public that I offer you for 24 hours after you join. So if you go to extremehealthradio.com, check that out. And let me see what you guys have. Zakai says the sauna helps keep you young too. Rockefeller, that is true. Sauna therapy is really great for anti-aging and disease prevention. Wellness Pass from me. Rockefeller Medicine is a subdivision of the moneyarchy. Both political parties are private companies and financed by the moneyarchy. I like that. They don't print, they borrow. It's all Subac. Wellness Path from me with interest. And your home is collateral as well as all federal and state land. Interesting. Yeah, I love that. Interesting stuff. Every time they print money, they steal from us. Best to protect money by investing in safe assets like silver, crypto, and stocks. Good stuff. Yeah, so if you guys, so put in your unpopular beliefs, maybe your beliefs that you don't want to tell your friends and family. Maybe beliefs that your coworkers will make fun of you for, but I'd love to read them because they're pretty cool. And it's kind of fun to be around other people that are just as crazy as I am. Let's see. Talk about debt-based money. Even 9/11 truthers run away screaming. Saturated fat and cholesterol is good for you. Nice. By the way, the moneyarchy admitted that 9/11 was one of the worst of their orchestrated big events. Yeah. Interestingly enough, on November 10th, 2001, it was interesting. Rumsfeld talked about $2.3 trillion that was unaccounted for as part of the military budget. And it just so happens that the area of the Pentagon where the plane allegedly struck in the Pentagon was in the very same area where they were investigating where that $2.3 trillion went. That was admitted by Donald Rumsfeld on September 10th, 2001. Most people don't know about that. Glenn says, unpopular belief number 1, the world is run by non-organic entities. What do you mean by that? Non-organic entities. Interesting. Okay, so I'm reading the comments here on YouTube about unpopular beliefs. I'm new to it, but I stopped vaccinating my kids. Youngest never has had one. Good for you, Miss Kunzi. Is it Kuhn? I can't see too well because I have iris on my screen and the screen's a little bit orange for me. But that's really cool. COVID is a false flag. Okay. Unpopular belief from Mark. Number 1, 9/11 was an inside job. Ooh, you can't say that. No. A bunch of guys that were untrained, living in caves from halfway around the world, they took down these buildings. Everybody knows that. We do not consent. Germ theory is BS. Wellness path for me. This is so much fun. I love hearing what you guys. So yeah, think about your unpopular beliefs and let me know what they are. This is so cool. I love, because it's cool for me. It's like, I don't often, my wife and I get to talk about stuff like this, right? And she's my only outlet. So like, I don't have any friends except for people inside the Extreme Health Academy that think like I do. So this is really cool. So post your most unpopular belief. Okay, 9/11 was an inside job. Germ theory is BS. Interesting. 9/11 was financed and supported by the monarchy, the monetary oligarchy. Interesting. Oh, you guys are awesome. I love reading these. Okay, so We Do Not Consent has an interesting question for Miss Kunzi on the YouTube chat, and it says, do you see a difference between your vaccinated and unvaccinated kids? That's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. Zakia says, unpopular belief, the CIA and FBI run human trafficking rings. Ah, okay. I love any information about that, because there's a lot of stuff going on about the Q movement, as you guys probably know. And I've been following that pretty intensely for some time. I don't really talk about it too much, but this is kind of ties right into that. The CIA, the FBI run human trafficking rings. Okay. So this is all, you know, it'd be so funny is to have you guys like, you know, to bring this kind of stuff up at like Thanksgiving dinner. How funny would that be? Unpopular belief. That is that this VC is safe. Oh, vaccine is safe and that everyone in my family should get it. Wow. Yeah, that's right, Dr. Ace. Michelle Obama is actually Michael. Ooh, Jamie, I saw you in the Extreme Health Academy chat room. Nice. Michelle Obama is actually Michael. Are you saying Michelle Obama is not a woman? Ooh. Yes, my youngest is happiest in terms of vaccinated versus unhappiest or unvaccinated. Happiest and healthiest and has developed faster. Wow. Ah, okay. This is good. Q is a psyop. Interesting. Okay. So here's the thing with beliefs, guys. Trump is controlled opposition. Okay, I've heard that too. A lot of the people in the Q movement think that Trump is like the guy that's going to save the world, right? Just like Event 201, there was an event in June 2001. Oh, shoot, the comments are going too fast now. You guys are fast, man. Okay. Operation Dark Winter was the code name for the senior level bioterrorist attack simulation conducted from June 22nd to June 23rd, 2001. Ooh, okay. Sam, I'm going to have to look at that. Operation Dark Winter. Whoa. Okay. The real plagues have happened through Lyme disease, a bioweapon, and autism, silent killers, and people suffering in silence. Interesting. Michael Obama. Yeah, a lot of people think that Michelle is actually a man. Oh, okay, here we go. Search Archidor. I am Republican asked me a question. I don't know. I'm not sure. Wellness path for me according to natural law requirements. Okay, so let me read some more of your unpopular opinions, guys. This is so cool. Speaking my language. Okay. Jamie Nolte says, Joan Rivers said it on TMZ and then dies during surgery. Yeah, so Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was really a man and she went in for a facelift or something a month later and she died. Pizzagate, okay. Could you imagine going to your friends and family and talking about that during Thanksgiving dinner? Dr. A says, my oldest kids have disabilities and my youngest one without the vaccines have none. Wow. Okay, so Wellness Path for me says Trump is 100% controlled. Interesting you say that because I don't know if you guys saw the news article coming out just yesterday talking about Ivanka Trump saying that she's going to go on to The View and get the COVID-19 vaccination on live TV. That's pretty interesting and telling, right? You know, a lot of people I think have this undying devotion to their belief systems. And here's the way I look at belief systems. You know, a lot of people in the Q movement, like I said before, have this thing that trust the plan and Trump's going to save everybody, right? But I don't believe that. I just don't. But the thing with belief systems is that what I like to do is I like to treat those belief systems like a tool, like a tool in a toolbox, right? So you have a toolbox and you're going to build a house. So you need a hammer to hammer nails into the wood, right? To build the foundation. You need screws, you need wrenches, and you need all these things as tools to accomplish certain tasks, right? So the question is, what is your task? What is your task that you have? What is your life mission? What is your life purpose? And do the belief systems that you currently carry and have allow you to carry out that task? And as soon as you're done with the task, you can let the belief system go. So, for example, if you are believing a certain belief that no longer serves you and you find out is no longer true, if your task is to develop yourself and to become a better person or to accomplish a certain goal, then you can let that belief system go because you realize that belief system is not you. You're not the hammer. You're the person controlling the hammer. You're not the nail. You're the person hammering the nail into the piece of wood to build the foundation for the house that's going to allow you to live and accomplish a task, right? To become a certain person. So the question we have to ask ourselves is our belief systems serving us to become the kind of people we want to be? And so if a belief system no longer serves you, or you found out it's no longer true, it's very easy to be able to disconnect yourself from that belief system, because you realize that belief system is not you. Because you were you before you had that belief system, right? You were you before you were a Christian. You were you before you were an atheist. You were you before you had a certain belief about the QAnon movement. You were you before you had a certain belief about natural health. You were all you before those belief systems that you took up, right? So once you realize that that belief system is no longer serving you, then you can easily let that go. No big deal, because you know it's not you. So look at belief systems. I like to look at belief systems like a tool that has a specific task I'm looking to carry out to perform a certain goal, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Trump is 100% controlled. The one thing I never talk about are the pedovores. And yes, take a look at Michelle's shoulders and draw your own conclusions. It seems absolutely crazy, but there are no topics or pictures of her pregnancy concerning Michelle Obama, and that's not normal. Melinda Gates is replaced with Robbie Williams. I've heard this, and it's funny as hell. Melinda Gates is replaced with Robbie Williams. What does that mean? Teresa Tam is a man, too. I'm not sure who Teresa Tam is a man. Or who's Teresa Tam? Politics are as real as pro wrestling. I probably agree with that one. Look for the numerological gematria connection with some of these false flag events. Notice the t-shirts and hats being worn by interview victims and bystanders in the background of the crowds. Good one. Good one. Good one. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Ivana was procuring kids with Wow. Ivana was procuring kids with Ghislaine Maxwell per eyewitnesses Marie Farmer. Whoa. Hadn't heard that one before. The particular vaccine will make you inhumane, and yes, I agree with the CIA. All presidents are puppets. The government is just another corporation. The entire world is a corporation. Yeah, guys, look into that whole black hole. The entire world is a corporation. You're a corporation. I'm a corporation, as evidenced by the fact that we are referred to in all capitals on any legal document, because that's the legal fiction, the corporation, that is able to be sequestered for duty. Sam says, I saw this funny comment in regards to Michelle Obama. Quote, finally we have a president with balls and a first lady without. Good one. The cartoon minions are really kids in Nazi camps who were guinea pigs. Okay, $2 billion in free election advertising for Trump. October surprise of criminal investigations sealed the deal. Trump is perfect to collapse the economy on. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of interesting things. So I think the what we're trying to get at is that, this whole political thing is a charade. All the politics, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, these people aren't going to save you. These people are not going to save you guys. And you know that. I'm preaching to the choir here. Jamie says, so much we are completely unaware of. So what in the heck do we do? So I like to empower myself, Jamie, with, like Dr. A says, save yourself. So invest in yourself. So here's something that helped me a lot. And it was given to me by my jiu-jitsu instructor in 2005, and it changed my life. And you can get it on Amazon, I think, for free. Or not for free, but for a cheap cost. It's Jim Rohn's personal development course called the Courage to Succeed, I think it's called. And here's how we do it. We turn off all media, except for those media outlets that empower us. Turn off all media, invest in yourself. Start investing and learning. Learn how to shorten the food connection cycle. Learn how to grow trees. learn how to keep chickens, learn how to take care of yourself, learn home remedies, learn how to save and invest in actual currency like gold and silver and possibly cryptocurrencies. Start a personal development foundation for your life. Reconnect with God, with whatever you consider God to be, with your fellow man, with yourself, with your kids, with your family, with your friends, and get into that reconnection. This is how we change. We change ourselves. We change ourselves first. And once we start doing that, then our world changes. And it's a lot of work. It's not fun. It's hard. It's challenging. And you're filled with a lot of uncertainty because you're used to the world working in a certain way, and you realize that all of that is crumbling down around you. And you look at your friends who are continuing going down that path, and you see that they're just living in a nightmare. They're living in fear, but at least you have some context for what's going on in the world. So I would really recommend working on your health, because your health is the perfect avenue for personal development. You have to eat 3 times a day, right? It's a discipline. So work on your environment, work on your own personal health, and then let that bleed into other areas of your life as well. And start filling your mind with good, positive information. This is what's going to be critical moving forward, because if you don't have any sense of positive information, it's not going to be good for us. We need go-getters. We need people who are willing to change the world. Harvey says, unpopular belief, AIDS is not caused by a virus, but a drug called poppers. Interesting. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to share that information with you regarding COVID-19, and we're building a database inside of our inside of our academy with information that's specifically designed to give you information that you can take to the bank and share with your friends and family. And this is information directly from Anthony Fauci, directly from the NIH, quotes from the CDC, quotes from the WHO, and quotes from CNN and BBC, and trusted news articles. And inside the academy, it's called the TTAC, the Truth About COVID. And this is designed to give you source material directly from the source that your friends and family cannot argue with. So, and we're going to work on getting Peggy Hall on the show and do an in-depth Academy workshop. So hopefully that's coming soon. I'll keep you abreast of that. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm going to put all the links to everything we talked about, from the Greenwave filters to the dirty electricity filters to the Relax Far Infrared Sauna to the aloe vera to all of our sponsors, all of that stuff. I'm going to put links to it, all of it, at extremehealthradio.com/671. That's today's show page for today. So hope you guys enjoyed that show. It was a super great time connecting with you guys on YouTube. I love that, sharing all kinds of unpopular beliefs. Gosh, I want to keep reading them, but I have to go eat lunch. Also, lead by your family by example. Do not consent to their bull. Yeah, guys, super, super important. Final one. Trump is an actor playing the role to divide and distract people and to get patriots to roll over and give up their freedom without a fight. Beck says, thanks for this day, Justin. Oh, Beck, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it so much. And I love having you a part of the Academy. You guys are all awesome. I love you so much. You're amazing. And just know that, that you're not the only crazy one out there. Okay. Like, just know that you're not alone. There's other people that think like you do. And as evidenced by our chat room today, like, you know, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And it's really, really important to know. So I love you all. If you want to support the show, go to biochargeme.com. Anytime you're looking to support the show and you want some really great products, that's where we store all of our products on our store. biochargeme.com. You can always click through our link on our homepage, extremehealthradio.com, if you're going to search or purchase anything from Amazon. Anytime you go through our link, we get a little commission for that, and that helps to support the show, feed our little twin boys, and to keep all of us going so we can keep making these content. Also, we have a Patreon page, which I don't really talk about very often, but that's a way to support the show as well. If you want to donate a couple dollars a month, you can do that on Patreon. But the best way to support the show, honestly, is to join the Academy. Academy, because you can donate $20 a month on Patreon, but if you want to join the Academy, you get all of this information and access to me, and we have live calls every Friday morning, and it's a really great time to interact with you guys, and you get something for your donation as well. So consider joining the Extreme Health Academy. There should be links down below. There's a free trial, 14-day free trial. If you use the code EHR14, I would love to see you in there. I love interacting with you guys in there. It's so much fun, and helping people out as much as possible. So that's really great thing. So join Extreme Health Academy. I'd love to have you in there. New courses every single month, and more people, more crazy people that think like we do. So pass this on to your friends as well. We would greatly appreciate that. If you don't want to support us financially or don't want to buy any product, anything like that, just share us on Instagram, on Facebook. Please share our shows. That really helps us a lot. Spread the word, spread the news. So love you guys all so much. You guys are amazing. I'm just honored to be here and honored to do this work. It's a real privilege for me. So thank you for being here and being a part of everything we have going on. It's just awesome. So you guys are amazing. Next week, let me figure out who we have. Lots of cool shows coming up. What we're going to do too is we're going to have George Wiseman on the show. He was supposed to be on today. We're going to have him on midweek, I think, because I don't want to wait a couple months to get him back on the show, talking about hydrogen. So he's really a great guy. I would highly recommend listening to that show that we did about Brown's gas and hydrogen. That was a while back. That was a little while ago. Episode, I think, let's see, that was episode 662 on Brown's gas. We're gonna have Brian Hoyer coming in. Cool. Sophia Smallstorm, Stephen Baker. Wow. Jason Christoph, Daniel Vitalis. Lots of cool people coming up, guys. So make sure to subscribe to our show. All right, guys, I'm going to go eat some lunch. I got to do my workout. We're going to go swimming with the kids later at a friend's house. I hope you guys are going to have a great weekend. Love you all so much. Thank you for your support over the years. It means a lot to me. So really appreciate it so much. And I'll see you next week. Actually, no, I don't. I think we're going to take a couple weeks off. Yeah. So I'll tell you more about that if you follow us on Instagram. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse